Hi, I'm Dr. Wilmot Allen. I live in Nairobi, Kenya. I've been here for 5 years. I'm from America, and I work here as an entrepreneur with a company called VentureLift Africa, which I founded, that is an advisory firm and facilitates greater diaspora economic engagement with the continent. I'm also an investor and a political economist studying Africa, political economy, Middle East, as well as Asia.
Hello, good people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm hosting a brother who is in Kenya. I don't get to meet so many of you here.
Hmm.
Is there a big African American community in Kenya?
It's growing. It's relatively small, but growing, but
Uh-huh.
very impactful. Very impactful in terms of, I think, the type of work we do, the impact, the support for Kenya and Africa. I think it's a community that's growing in visibility, growing in influence. We just had a major diaspora investment and trade deal event at the end of September to help mobilize trade and investment into the continent of Africa, particularly Kenya as well, in light of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, in light of the bilateral agreement between Kenya and the U.S. and other things. So it's growing.
All
It's
right, all
growing.
right.
Yeah.
So first, we want to know who are you and when did you get to Kenya? You can
Yes.
start by introducing yourself and where you are from.
Right. So thank you. My name is Wilmot Allen. I'm very, very pleased to be with you. Thank you for having me. Always good to talk to um, the local community about issues that relate to life in Kenya, international issues. I came to Africa a long time ago. I came to Kenya about 6 years ago, and I came here to run the East Africa Trade Investment Hub with a group that is a U.S. company um, to help facilitate trade investment into East Africa. So I led the transaction team for that. When I said a long time ago, wow, when I was a student, I came here first to Zimbabwe, and I was involved in investment and trade facilitation at that time. I was an intern while I was in school, in graduate school, with a group called COMESA, Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa.
Oh, Commerce. Yeah,
Um,
I know
yeah,
that.
and I've had various touch points since, whether it's been investing when I was with the IFC in Washington, D.C., in Nigeria, working on what's called foreign direct investment projects out of Nigeria. There's a litany of things I do. Maybe we can get into some of them more
Okay.
as we continue to talk. But I've been here for a while. I will say this, though. People ask me about how did you become engaged with Africa, not just live here, but engage.
Yeah.
I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is in the Midwest, and University of Cincinnati. Um, it's one of our leading universities in Cincinnati, and there were students there that stayed at my parents' home, and so that's how I got to know Africa by
Oh.
engaging with them. And they're still family friends today, and more have been introduced to us through that connection and other similar connections. And so it was really by hosting in our family, in our home, people from the continent of Africa, whether it was Zimbabwe or Botswana. And that made an indelible impression upon me firsthand. So I didn't have to get all the information from National Geographic or from any other media publication. I got it firsthand. Insights into life, family, values, culture.
Uh-huh.
And they were immediately like family to us. Met all of our extended family. We're still in touch, still visit. So that was my original point of contact.
So I guess that means that it was very easy for you to transition. Like you already knew what to expect when you were coming to live in Africa.
I knew, well, it's very diverse. So Zimbabwe, for example, when I was there, was a little bit different than what it is today in Harare. But Zimbabwe is very different than Nigeria, as Nigeria is very different than Kenya. And there have been a few other places. So I've experienced across 20 countries, mainly around business engagement. And so all of the countries are diverse. The people are diverse. So I don't take anything for granted. I'm still learning. But there are some common denominators when it comes to people of African descent, whether you're in Brazil, whether you're in France, whether you're in Cincinnati, or here on the continent. And so those types of things resonate and are obvious and are prominent. And so they're inviting, they're engaging, and they are points of cultural connection.
Mm-hmm. And did you face any challenges? You've been in Kenya for 6 years.
Yep, 5.5, 6 years.
5.5, 6. So did you face any challenges when you were like, now I'm coming to work in Kenya, I'm coming to stay in Kenya? And I understand right now you still not, you're doing a different business right now.
Yeah, so let me tell you about what I do, because you asked me that, and I've been
Yeah.
talking about a lot of different things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So I run a company called Venture Lift Africa, which is an advisory firm that also facilitates economic engagement with the diaspora through a variety of ways. I mentioned it at that event. We also do it through facilitating deals. We have an online platform that people can come and join and be curated into matchmaking with trade partners, supply chain, investment, etc. So I do that. I'm also part of a private equity team that invests in healthcare, which is based in South Africa. I cover East Africa. We're working diligently to close that fund. It also is very important through my larger work in terms of diaspora engagement to bring in companies. So I'm part of a biotech company now that we have through the invitation of really great partners who are scientists, diaspora scientists. Started a company, it's incorporated here in Kenya, which I think is going to go a long ways towards improving precision medicine, particularly for people of color, namely for people of African descent. And you know, the disease burden is such that there are some peculiarities of every ethnic group, but the problem arises based upon a lot of the clinical trials are not very diverse. And so when you have more diverse clinical trials, better genomic sequencing of those populations, you can hopefully deliver better treatments that are aligned with some of the peculiarities of that population group.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's a lot, but
so yeah.
those are all
So
things
how,
I did.
how so you transitioned from employment. Initially you were employed, but now you're the founder of Venture Lift, right?
I'm the founder of Venture Lift. So all these things I have an ownership interest in.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so the company I first came with was a great opportunity to come to Nairobi. I'd never been before. We were very successful in my time there. I came in a role that I was a little bit overqualified for. The results bore that out. But it was a great way to come on the soft landing into a great place. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity and to the institutions that were involved in making that happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So after you finished working with them, that's when you founded the companies.
No,
You
while I was there, I founded the company.
Uh-huh.
And there's a little twist. Also, I came here as a student, so I was finishing my PhD.
In
So
Kenya?
I was all but dissertation. I wrote on sovereign wealth funds,
okay. Mm-hmm.
which are state-owned investment vehicles. In Africa, they're largely financed through natural resource wealth, so oil,
Mm-hmm.
minerals, and so I was doing that as I came. Founded Venture Lift, left the company, continued to build Venture Lift. Had some concentrated time for about 9 months to finish up my dissertation, get that stamped, sealed, and delivered, and then moved on to continuing to build out, engaged with this private equity fund, and began to do other things to bring in more companies that can be, I should say this is very, very important. Our mission is that the companies that we bring in become co-partners and co-owned with the local population. And that's really, really important when it comes to technology company, which is the case of this biotech company I mentioned, because as you know, there is a growing need for more support of local founders owning and getting financing. And so I think as a diasporan of the continent of Africa, there's a special sensitivity and sensibility about that, about the equity of that. And so we don't have to be asked to do that. We do that on our own. Yeah.
That's really awesome. So how easy was it for you to start the business? Like, what did you really need? Keeping in mind that there are some Africa diaspora who might be interested in starting business on the continent. How easy was it for you to start the company?
Well, I think it's not easy. So starting businesses in general, in terms of the fuller process, is not necessarily easy. Now, quickly getting incorporated, obviously that's procedural. Very quickly, you can get something incorporated. But in terms of getting work permits, various depending upon the company, licenses that you need to practice. Those things can take time. And so what I would say is you have to plan ahead. I know there is an increasing effort now to not crowd out the local population, local talent, which I think is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of focus on bringing in a company that's going to add value as it should. What is not currently in the market? What can be brought to the market that maybe the local capacity isn't currently addressing, that can employ, that can skill up, that can eventually allow you to co-own, to promote those that you might be employing initially to co-own with you, if not having started out that way. And so those are all things I think from the philosophical and impact standpoint that dovetail into the procedures as well, that I think someone coming in who's of the diaspora or otherwise should really think about. And then there's just the technical aspect of starting a new business, product market fit, understanding the local market, having a local partner, understanding supply chains and logistics, figuring out a lot of these things before you come. Fortunately, there are a greater amount of resources from, in this case, the U.S. government, private institutions here in Kenya. So there's a lot of help that is available.
Are you looking at building a credit so that you can have finances to build, invest, relocate, or even start a business in the continent? Well, www.creditbuildingmasterclass.com will tell you how to go about it. Just click on the link in the description box and you are able to access the book free of charge. The link is also attached in the pinned comment. Go ahead, let's do this.
Away from the business,
Okay.
how was the community reception in Kenya for you as an African American?
Yeah, I think, not many Kenyans have firsthand experience. I think the great thing now is people are willing to engage first before holding on to stereotypes. And I'm happy about that. I think that's with the millennials.
Millennials.
Is with the millennials. But that is a refreshing thing because it allows you to come and be kind of accepted on your own merits. It's a difficult thing, right? When you have so many images of African Americans that are in the media. And I think, in sports, so positive. There's a lot of influence, impact, even dominance in some sports. And then in other ways, you don't have that. You have the reputation, oh, wow, of being loud and boisterous because of someone might see on a reality show or something else. But I think that because I have been sort of curated into the right relationships by people who a lot of times have been to America and say, wait a minute, I knew what it was like for me to enter into your country. And the African-American population helped me out, helped me with immigration. Or when I came to this reckoning to know that I wasn't just Kenyan, but I also was Black because of some of the issues that go on in America that we're still, as a country, working out. African Americans were there for me. I've heard the opposite as well. African Americans were not, et cetera. So, but I think on balance, I've been fortunate to be in a relationship with people who have been well-traveled, cosmopolitan, who understand that you need help, you need support, but mostly you need not to be judged based upon, just images that are in the public media or disinformation, et cetera. So beyond that, I think it's been good it's really a discovery process, right? Unlike in places like Nigeria and South Africa, when I've lived there, I've done work there, been there for extended times, it hasn't been a discovery process as much. Here it is a discovery process. And on both sides. And there are a lot of reasons for that. And many of those reasons I think now have to be addressed in terms of education, in terms of information, in terms of asking for and demanding a new diversity of images, in terms of understanding, embracing commonalities that we have as African people in the midst of our diversity and difference. Understand the opportunities now that are ahead of us for Pan-African empowerment that is inclusive to us, and I think can be driven by us, but not exclusive of the global community. We need both, right? So it's both and not either or. But I think it is setting as a priority the prosperity of Africa and her diaspora and working together. And here's a new thing where we have to go is getting the global community behind that. That hasn't always been the case. When I say behind it, not just mentally assenting or supporting causes, but really saying when it comes to economic engagement, contracts, when it comes to representation of U.S. institutions, who's here representing the U.S. and diversifying that, that's when we really begin to push the needle on progress in those areas.
Have you learned the language?
Kidogo. Please don't test me. I'm learning. I have a tutor I've been talking to for the last 3 months about starting, and we will start soon. But I picked it up. It's a beautiful language. It's an open language. By that I mean so many people want to engage you, want to help me. But I tell you, the standards are low. I will say, asante. Oh, Swahili. I'm so proud of you. I'm like, that was just one
That's
word.
just one word.
So
Don't.
the bar is so low. It's so low. So look, I have no excuse other than just trying to do life here. But it is something that is important for me to get a better mastery of, for sure.
And are you looking forward that maybe someday becoming a Kenyan citizen?
I wasn't sure where you were going to go with that, but I'm glad you kept it as at the role of citizenship. I see myself on the continent of Africa for the long haul. This is a commonality. I think if you talk to more diasporans, African Americans, you'll hear that from us, that there is a certain centeredness, reconciliation internally that we experience in returning to the continent. Being still transnational, but at the same time understanding that, there's something of value that we want to kind of embrace and sustain and continue in its longevity and being here on the continent. So I'm of that same mindset.
If you've been in Kenya, if you're in Kenya for 7 years, you can get your citizenship. And you're almost there. So maybe if you've been in Kenya continuous for all that duration, probably that's something maybe you can consider doing.
Yeah.
So for someone who is in business, do you need some special type of visa in order to conduct business in Kenya?
Yeah, there are various levels of work permits. I think that is the big challenge, is to get the right work permit. As an employee, it's more difficult because you have to, if you come in as an employee, you have to show that and demonstrate that what you do could not be done by anyone in the local population, which I think is the right policy, right? You can't have the local population crowded out. Jobs are not necessarily plentiful I shouldn't say not plentiful, don't match the number of graduates coming out of college and young people. So you need to kind of have some level of sensitivity to that from a policy perspective. So I endorse that. But I think from the standpoint of these other categories of getting a work permit, whether it's investor and otherwise, I think, you should be very, very mindful of that, because there, for example, with an investor permit, you have to have like $100,000 that you have access to and can prove that you have access to. So there are stipulations like that you just can't take randomly, that you have to really plan for. Yeah.
What do you miss most about the US?
The holidays, seeing my parents, because I try to go off peak, if you will. So I have a parent that has a birthday in the first quarter, so I don't necessarily go back for Christmas. My favorite holiday in the U.S. is Thanksgiving. I think it's a really big family holiday. It's focused on family and not on, performance in terms of giving and gifts and things like that, which is like Christmas. But, Christmas is still special in the U.S., but Thanksgiving I really like. And so Christmas, you can celebrate here. Easter, you can celebrate that. Thanksgiving,
you have to. So every Thanksgiving, you're always
not
home.
The same. Although I have some Kenyan friends that have adopted it, and they say,
so they celebrate it.
Yeah, and they invite me over. In fact, I have a friend I just spoke to recently, who invited me to their family for a Thanksgiving dinner. So I think that would be the first thing. But you know what? I think that for me, a lot of my family members have been to Africa already, and I do have, not necessarily now in COVID times, but
Mm-hmm.
but you know, pre and post COVID, I try to get back frequently, and
Mm-hmm.
so um, yeah, so that's how I deal with that.
All right. All right. So, any advice that you have for someone who would like to start a business in Kenya? Let's say Kenya, because you're in Kenya. But you also mentioned South Africa. You have
Yeah,
business
I
in South
think, yeah,
Africa
as I
as
say,
well.
I think for Kenya, and I'll focus on Kenya because the business in South Africa, I actually didn't start. Um, I was brought into a situation. So I would say in Kenya, I think it is a lot of things I said before, just understanding the business fundamentals right, getting those right, um, understanding local market, having a local partner, and then all the procedural dimensions of incorporating, getting funded, hiring. So those are, you know, very, very basic things. But I think beyond a lot of those procedural things, I think it really is, why do you want to be here? What value can you add? And increasingly for us, because our business, I would say, is a commercial business, but we're very much um, focused on economic self-reliance. I
Mm-hmm.
think we need more companies to have that as an impact target, if you will, over and above employment, empowerment of women, very, very important goals as they are in their own right. Um, but this economic self-reliance, whereby you're coming to promote prosperity here, local ownership or co-ownership, training, and capacity building,
Mm-hmm.
and um, helping the local populations own more of their institutions and being okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Africa is stronger, I think the rest of the world is stronger. And so that would be something. How can we avoid coming in with companies that are working against those goals?
Well, so tell us about your journey. You getting to Kenya. That was 6 years ago. Was
You're right.
2000 and
So 5.5 in 2015, I came.
2015,
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us about your journey getting to Kenya
hmm
and the experiences, some of the interesting things that you've done.
Yeah, you know, besides the work that we've talked a little bit about, I've had the opportunity to teach, and that was a really important experience. So I finished up my PhD in 2018, turned it and walked in 2019, so officially 2019, and had an opportunity to teach at USIU in the winter semester of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was a really good experience. I was very, very busy. They, you know, invited me to come in and teach at the Shandaria School of Business, a course to undergraduates on international business. And the thing that was striking about that, obviously enjoyed the, you know, being engaged by smart minds who were very aspirational. But the thing is, you know, throughout the continent, I think this is the case. That was shocking about that is that we use really old textbooks that had Africa on the periphery of international business.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not moving towards the center. And so the good thing for me is that, you know, I was able to incorporate into the curriculum, if you will, other materials, more contemporary materials on doing business in Kenya, African entrepreneurship, Kenyan CEOs there and how they build their companies, different aspects of business. So it wasn't focused on personalities, but traditional business topics that we were able to frame differently, with Kenya and Africa being more of the center in conversation with the rest of the world. That was important for me because I didn't want to, I'll say it this way, I wanted to continue to inspire young people to see themselves as agents and not objects.
Mm-hmm.
And having the ability to drive the opportunity set that is now increasingly ahead of them, which is why you see, and it's demonstrated by the fact you see so many foreign entities come into Africa now. There's an opportunity set here.
Yeah.
And I think as a global community, we're better served when we make sure that Africans are able to engage that. And, you know, given the demographic dividend, the youth bulge, however you want to say it, that's really important to engage in the university setting, the minds of young people who are playing out their careers. where you have a role to play in shaping that, influencing that, how they see themselves in light of the international business context. I also was pleasantly surprised to know that they know so much, not just about pop culture in America, but business, but especially the icon, the big businesses they knew about. We had to bring in some targeted instruction about African American business history. They didn't know about that, but it was nevertheless a very, very fulfilling class.
So was it something like the US, the students, the mindset, and something like that?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, look, I
Or
think.
maybe it's because
I
it's
think
United
because of
States.
because of the school. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was
because of the
it-
uni, it's
yeah,
United States International University.
yeah. I think that had something to do with it. But look, because of technology,
Yeah.
most young people are in their exposure are more cosmopolitan. Maybe haven't traveled, but what they've been exposed to digitally are more cosmopolitan now than ever before. And so I think that was reflected. Yeah.
Okay, and now tell us about the social life in Kenya.
What do you want to know about the social life?
Everything.
Oh, wow. The social life in Kenya.
Everything. Or interesting
Nairobi
things
is a
that
special place. It's no coincidence that it is probably, a high destination on the target list of a lot of folks who are not from Kenya or outside, who are from outside the continent. It's livable, accessible, open. I have many friends here from very, very different backgrounds. I'm embedded in the church community here. My church, has a lot of different people, a lot of different backgrounds, different professional associations, clubs, my gym. So I've been exposed to a wide swath through work, through with the mass population. And so that has been very, very good. I think that, it's interesting that, as I said before, there's still a learning curve when it comes to learning about the diaspora, particularly African diaspora. It's a little bit different than other countries. And what I would say is more so needed is more intentionality around that, right? Because I feel that there are so many commonalities to be discovered. There's a lot of mythology and just things that are just wrong on both sides, African and African diaspora, in this case, African Americans, misperceptions, things that are just not true. And all those, I think there's going to be a reckoning. I think we're seeing that not just between in the U.S. Black communities, communities of color, and majority communities, and the rest of the world. But I think this is what I'm more excited about. The reckoning that has to happen intra people of African descent, people of folks in the U.S. who are African Americans and American Africans, meaning historical diaspora, contemporary diaspora, and seeing that continue here. One of the things that you see is countries like Ghana have stated explicitly that we want to engage African Americans. I think in many cases people are well-meaning but just don't know the benefit of doing that. And maybe look at some of the negative stereotypes in media and say, I'm good. But not realizing that a lot of those things are not true, and that there's so much to be discovered, so much to be enjoyed. As I said before, this Diaspora Investment and Trade Deal event, which we did in September, 70 speakers, 1,000 registrants across 5 days, Kenyans, Nigerians, Tanzanians, diaspora in Europe, mostly in the US though, the Caribbean, and even some from Latin America. Was a great demonstration effect to say that, okay, guys, there is a great opportunity now to begin to work together, to know each other better, and to accomplish some great things. The other thing I would say about the social life, there's a lot of creativity as well. Guys are really entrepreneurial, as you know, and I think more of the world is discovering. And one of the things I'm particularly interested in is the creative sector. And I used to work, I didn't give much about my history, but before coming here, I worked at the International Finance Corporation in private equity, spent some time in venture capital, investing in minority and women-owned businesses in tech, and then in Silicon Valley as well as an investment banker in mergers and acquisitions. But the part of it I don't think I share a lot about is that when the internet bubble burst, this was Internet 2.0, I think, briefly when it came back, I went down to LA and I worked at the Walt Disney Company, ABC, and for a short time, took on a creative role at PBS, which is the sister network to like a BBC.
Mm-hmm.
And just come and bring those experiences here now and seeing how dynamic the creative sector is, film and television production,
Mm-hmm.
fashion, and how underserved it is. So we're trying to do some things to mobilize investment and create more opportunities for creatives to showcase what they do. In this case, I'm working with the Black House Foundation and Pauline Fisher to have, by second quarter, a creative sector accelerator to help writers develop their projects and hopefully support them in getting acquired in Hollywood. So that's a huge and significant undertaking that we're trying to execute on.
So if I was to ask your favorite thing about Kenya, like if you are not in Kenya or if you are living elsewhere, what do you miss? Would you miss most about Kenya?
Wow. Some aspects of the food, definitely the natural beauty. You can go to white sand beaches, safaris, Mount Kenya. But for me, every place, it's always the same thing. It's the people. The richness of every country would be its people. Here, would definitely say the same thing. I have some strong friendships here. Some people that, I'm locked in the horns with business partners as well. So it would be the people of East Africa, Kenya, and in the extended region as well. And it's so diverse. Tanzanians, Ugandans are so very different. Ethiopians,
Rwandans.
Rwandans the same. And so it's been very, very refreshing to be welcomed, to have the opportunity to engage more deeply into society than I ever probably realized. And so, yeah, I'm happy about that. So those would be some of the things I miss. I think overall, that I'm understanding that the stage is set for Africa to blow up culturally. And this is why, and folks, hear the same messaging from me. I know sometimes people don't always appreciate it about this diaspora engagement, but when that does happen, and it will, that will be a cultural revolution we have never seen the likes of, greater than the Harlem Renaissance, greater than a lot of what happened in the 60s and 70s, because there's so much to look backward to kind of resurrect and to reframe, but even more so forward thinking and forward looking in terms of the opportunity that I think will really drive cultural production over and above investment and trade, but cultural production, rich culture, whether it's books, film, television, fashion. And so those are things, and just learning languages and history. Those are things that I think that I'm really excited about what's ahead.
Okay. If you had to change anything about Kenya, what would that be?
Anything.
Yeah. If there's anything you wanted to change, you'd love to change, or you would see happen different.
Well, I think, there's no perfect place.
Yeah.
I think it's this mismatch between opportunity and talent that we see with the young people. Because we've seen, whether it was Tunisia and other parts of the world, how these things can become a powder keg and things can really go wrong, in the wrong direction. And so our company works towards that. I know other impact investors, the Development Finance Institution, local institutional partners, all working towards that, is be able to give more opportunity for so many people that are underhired, who don't have opportunities. And I haven't seen a lot of it, but for however they're doing it, are just holding on to remaining optimistic and hopeful in the, while in the midst of really, really challenging circumstances. So I think it's the economic opportunity for young people.
All right. Thank you so much for watching that amazing conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like button, share, and subscribe in case you are not subscribed. And until next time.
Kwahere.